Welcome to The Explainer. We're exploring a really profound question today. What actually happens at the moment of death? Our source material gives us a pretty detailed map of the soul's final journey, and it describes it not as some sudden end, but as this structured step-by-step transition, a process we're going to unpack together.
So, the big question, how does the soul leave the body? Well, the source text doesn't treat this like some great mystery. It lays it out as a specific, almost observable process. So let's start at the beginning, the body's farewell.
The whole thing starts not with a sudden stop, but with a gentle shutdown. Yeah, think of it less like flipping a switch off and more like a slow, deliberate dimming of the lights as the physical body gets ready to say goodbye.
Now, to really get a grip on this shutdown, we have to talk about a key concept, the Sushma Daham, or the subtle body. According to the text, this isn't the soul itself. It's more like the energetic interface, the prana, or life force, that anchors the soul to our physical body. It's kind of like the tether, right? And when that tether starts to withdraw, that's what kicks off the entire process.
So the source lays out this withdrawal in 4 really clear stages. It starts with energy pulling back from the limbs. Then the senses begin to quiet down. As that connection gets weaker, memory and recognition start to fade. And the final stage, speech stops completely. This marks the moment the subtle body has almost fully withdrawn from its physical host. It's a very systematic retreat.
Okay, so once the body has shut down, the soul's journey really begins. This is that critical transition point where consciousness starts to shift from the physical world we know to what the source calls the subtle realm. And this moment is described as this profound duality. See, it's not just an end, it's also a new beginning. As the soul falls asleep to its life here on Earth, it's simultaneously waking up in a different state of being, starting that process of letting go of its worldly life and memories.
In these last few moments, the source talks about this incredibly powerful phenomenon, a life review. It's depicted almost like a rapid-fire video of your life, where every single significant action, your karma, is re-experienced. And for some, this panoramic memory might even stretch all the way back into past lives.
Now, the source offers a really critical piece of guidance for anyone who might be present at a moment like this. The quote here says it all. The core idea is that the soul is in an extremely sensitive state and any kind of external disturbance could disrupt its journey. So non-interference, well, that's considered the highest form of respect you can show. And this leads to an absolutely crucial point. The text argues that a calm atmosphere is the greatest gift you can offer the dying. It suggests that strong emotional outbursts, crying, shouting, can act like anchors. They can cause real distress to the departing soul and potentially get in the way of a peaceful transition.
All right, so once the soul has separated, what happens next? Well, the source gets into that by detailing the precise point of exit and even challenging a very common misconception about what death actually is.
And here, the source gets incredibly specific. It actually identifies the soul's exit point as the Ajna Chakra, that spot located right between the eyebrows. This detail is also used to explain a common physical sign at the moment of passing, the eyes turning slightly upward.
This leads to a really profound distinction. Most of us tend to think that death happens when the heart stops beating. But this perspective just flips that whole idea on its head. It says the heart stops because the life force, that subtle body that was running it, has already left. We'd been mistaking the effect for the cause all this time.
Finally, the source presents a really powerful contrast. The journey we've described so far, that's for an ordinary person. But for an accomplished yogi, the departure is described as something else entirely.
And the difference really comes down to one thing: control. For most people, death is an involuntary process that just happens to them. But for a practiced yogi, this account describes it as a conscious and fearless act, a deliberate choice to leave the physical form, made by someone who is no longer bound by time.
Ultimately, the source concludes not with fear, but with this beautiful universal prayer for peace. And this perspective really reframes the entire journey as just a natural process, one that's worthy of respect. And that leaves us with a final thought to consider. How might our own perspective change if we view death not as an ending, but as a final, profound transition?